Hello friends, this video on molecular basis of inheritance part 35 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So let us look at the various methodologies which were followed during the Human Genome Project. So two major approaches were followed. One was the expressed sequence tags. Now what was this? It was often abbreviated as EST. Expressed sequence, that means those sequence of DNA which expressed themselves. The next one was the sequence annotation. So let us understand what are each of them. So when we talk about expressed sequence tags, it was that approach where only those genes were identified which were expressed as mRNA. As we all know that there are certain genes which do not code for any proteins. Right, so there are non-coding regions as well. So in this approach, only those genes were identified which were expressed as mRNA. Whereas in case of sequence annotation, the entire genes, to sequence of all the genes, both the coding as well as non-coding genes were identified, irrespective of whether they express themselves or they don't. So first all the genes were identified and then they were annotated to different functions. So these were the two approaches that were followed. So sequence annotation was used to relate different regions on sequences to their functions. So as I said that there was no differentiation between the coding and the non-coding genes. So all the genes were identified, and once the sequencing was done for all the genes, then they were being tried to relate to their functions. So they were annotated a function for each portion of the DNA. So that is how sequence annotation was being done. So now the most important question is, how is DNA sequenced? So we have been talking about DNA sequencing since the time we started discussing Human Genome Project. But what do we actually mean by DNA sequencing? That is just finding out the sequence of the nitrogenous bases which are present in DNA. But how exactly do we do it? Is it that easy to do? So what is the process that we follow to do this? So first of all, DNA is isolated. Now from where do we isolate DNA? So blood samples are collected from several individuals, and then on a random basis, DNA is collected from those blood samples. Now DNA is a very, very long polymer, as we all know. So the length of one particular DNA is almost around 2.2 meters. We calculated towards the beginning of this lesson. So DNA being a long polymer, sequencing the bases directly would be very difficult because it is quite long. So what is done? Fragmentation is done. That is, the entire DNA is cut into small fragments. And then, as you can see on this big screen, that these are the small fragments into which the long DNA polymer has been divided. And then these small fragments of DNA are cloned in a host. Now this host can be a bacteria or it can also be a yeast. So if they are cloned in bacteria, it is often given a term called BAC, that is bacterial artificial chromosome. And if it is cloned in yeast, then it is given the term YAC, that is yeast artificial chromosome. And then what do we do? Now we have small fragments of DNA. So sequencing is done for each fragment. Now doing the sequencing for each fragment is because they are smaller, so it is quite simple. But then again, at the same time, the signals are now very small because each fragment is quite small, so their signals are also very small. So what is the need now? The signals needed to be amplified. Now how do we amplify the signals? So amplification of each fragment or amplification of signals from each fragment was done by the use of enzymes. So enzymes are used to make thousands of copies of each of these pieces. So each of the genome piece, 1,000 copies will be made. Now when you make so many copies of a tiny object also, then group of those objects make it bigger or amplifies it. So now we have replicas, several replicas of each fragment. So what is our job now? We have to read them. So how do we read them? So for reading them, what is done is a mixture of all the bases. That is, now we are very sure that what will be DNA made of? It will have just 4 bases, A, T, G and C. That's all. Nothing else will be there. So what is done is a mixture of all these bases is prepared with some specific color for each base. Like if it is A, it has to be green. If it is G, it has to be pink. If it is T, it has to be red. So that way each one color is assigned to each of the bases, and then a mixture of these bases is prepared, and then that is added to each of these fragments. So to each of this it is added. Then what happened? Enzymes are also added to the fragment. Now, due to the concept of complementary pairing, double-stranded structure will be formed. And the specific color will help us in reading the sequence. So whenever a particular color is displayed, that means that portion has got that color. So then it is connected to DNA sequencers, a computational device where you can it very easily read the sequence. So this is how DNA sequencing is done. Well, I have discussed this just in a rough way, not in very much detail. That's because there are many other logic, many other computational methods and devices which are being used, which are not in the scope at this level. So maybe you will learn about all these things if you take up genetics in your higher classes. So computer programs also, now one important question. Now you will be able to sequence the DNA of each fragment, but how do you join all the fragments? So joining of these fragments to form the entire complete DNA polymer is again done with the help of computer programs. So computational aids are extremely important as far as DNA sequencing or even the Human Genome Project was concerned. So computational aids were extremely important. Now let us look at some of the features of human genome. Now, as this project was continuing, there were a bunch of scientists and researchers who were working on this. So gradually over a period of time, they could do some research, they could do some sequencing, and they came up with certain features of the human genome based on their research. So it was found that the human genome has 3 billion nucleotide bases. So as we said, now there are 23 pairs of chromosomes in each cell, and those 23 pairs of chromosomes have got bases because chromosomes at the end of the day, they contain DNA, and DNA have got the sequence of bases. So the total number of base pairs is 3 million. Size of a gene varies. However, an average gene has 3000 bases. So one particular gene has around 3000 bases, but that is not necessary that all the genes will have to have somewhere around 3000 bases. There are some genes which have got very less number of bases, whereas there are some genes which have very high number of bases. For example, the largest human gene, which has got 2.4 million bases, is dystrophin. So this is the gene which has got the maximum number of bases. Total number of genes is approximately 30,000. So that is again a big number. So this is the total number of genes which is present in a genome. Now you will be surprised to know that almost 99.9% of the base sequences are same in all the human beings. So all the human beings, even though they look so different, but if you compare their sequence of their nucleotide bases, their similarity is 99.9%. So that much of similarity is there. So that means how many bases are different. So if you actually try to find out, you'll be able to see that the total number of bases that is present in a human genome is 3 billion. So if you try to calculate 99.9% of 3 billion and then subtract that from 3 billion, so how many remaining bases do you have? It will be somewhere around 3 into 10 to the power 6. So these many bases are different. So since the number 3 billion is extremely huge, so 0.01% of 3 billion is also a big number, as you can see here. 3 into 10 to the power 6 again is a big number. So these many genes, these many sequences basically differ in individuals, but otherwise 99.9% of 3 billion bases are the same in all human beings. Less than 2% of genome actually codes for proteins. Now amongst so many bases, a very less proportion of it actually really codes for proteins, except that all other are the non-coding portion. a lot of sequences are repeated. So these non-coding portions, what do they have? They also have sequences. So it has been found that most of the portion of the DNA has repeated sequence. For example, let us suppose if there is a sequence, say AGTC. Now if the same sequence gets repeated continuously, and this repetition can be up to 100 times or 500 times as well, so you can imagine how much stretch of the DNA will have repetitive sequences. And these repetitive sequences are very common in DNA, and that is how the length of the DNA is actually covered, because as you can see here, a very small portion of it is actually coding for proteins, not even 2%. So these repetitive sequences do not code for proteins directly, but they also play an important role in chromosome structure, in evolution as well as the dynamics. Now the number of genes in a chromosome varies. As I had mentioned this earlier also, that one chromosome can have thousands of genes, but then again we do not know. Some of them might have less, some of them might have more. So it really varies. Functions of more than half of the genes are yet to be discovered. So this Human Genome Project was started with a goal to find out the DNA sequencing in the human genome and also try to relate them to their functions, like what does each portion of the gene do. But till now, not even half of the genes function have been discovered. For the remaining of them, research and work is still going on, but scientists are having an aim that they want to understand the genetics completely. They want to understand the genetics of, the DNA sequencing. They want to have complete knowledge on the human genome so that that can be benefited in several ways. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.